Hey everybody, welcome back to Baseline Farms. My name is Jade. Hope everyone's doing well. So today I'm going to go through and give you a little garden vlog, but I also need to harvest a few things. And I was out here earlier this morning just watering. I think I finished watering. Yeah, I'm finished watering. I had to double check. But I do have some garden beds on and I do need to harvest a bunch of things. So yesterday I was spent all day in the kitchen and I do need to get one of those outdoor burners. I want to get one of those outdoor burners because the kitchen gets so hot when you're, processing milk, because I had so much milk in the refrigerator. I haven't even caught up with the milk that we've been, that I've been milking. So I get about over a gallon of milk a day. And I milk out once a day in the evening times when it's cooler. And, at first I was thinking, should I milk out in the mornings? But then I thought their udders get so full that that would be so uncomfortable to lay on full udders. So that's why I milk them out at night. So I get about a gallon and a half of milk pretty much every night, which is quite a bit. And while, I was gone on my girls' trip, and then we had a wedding, and then like so many things. We had Father's Day, so many things. The milk was just getting backed up. So I have been making cheese. I have been making the farmer's cheese. I have been making tons of mozzarella, which I feel now I am confident enough to record a video on how to make mozzarella cheese, because at first I was just not confident in myself to give any type of tutorial on how to make mozzarella cheese. But now that I've been doing it for a little bit, because we get so much milk, the cheese is delicious. It melts. It tastes just like the mozzarella cheese that you would get from the supermarket. It's quite delicious, and you can salt it for however salty you want it. And I put it in a fresh saver. I suck out all the air and I freeze it that way, and I put the date on it so I know when I made it. So I've been doing that, freezing a ton of mozzarella, freezing a ton of goat's milk, because my goal is to eventually make some goat milk soap, probably in the wintertime when it's not so busy. Let's see, I've been out at the job sites and teaching my daughter how to do, work in the landscape business and work doing container design, because that's pretty much what I do. Is I just do a little container designs. I go out to the shopping centers, I redo their containers, and it's quite fun, but it is a little bit of hard work because I am getting older. And so that work is a little hard. And I don't really like sweating out in the sun at all. And so, she's young, so she's out doing that job. John and I had a 10-year anniversary. I cannot even believe it. We've been together now, I want to say, since 2009, end of 2009. So quite a long while. And so we just had our 10-year anniversary. And yeah, it doesn't even feel like 10 years. It feels, yeah, doesn't feel, it just went by so fast. And so today, what we're going to be doing is I do want to start some seeds. I do want to start some flower seeds. I don't know if it's going to be today. We're going to see how far we get as far as harvesting because it is going to be hot today. Today is going to be 98 degrees. And I do want to preserve some pickles, like some cucumbers. I want to make some pickles. I do want to harvest a bunch of this eggplant and make some sort of eggplant dish. Let's see what else. And then, I have so many beautiful dinner plate dahlias in the garden, and I haven't even spent that much time in the garden, so I haven't even been enjoying them. So if part of me wants to cut some of them so I could put them in a jar, which was something I did not want to do because I was spending time in the garden. But now that I have to spend time in the kitchen preserving the milk so it doesn't go bad, processing it, I finally feel like I have a bit of a rhythm. So when I milk out the goats at night, I'll just filter it out and I'll stick it straight into the refrigerator. And then in the morning, while it's really cool in the morning, I'll get up and I'll start processing the milk in the early morning so it doesn't, heat up the house too much. And that takes quite a bit of time. So when I do that, then I'll take whatever milk that I have from the past and I'll make cheese or farmer's cheese or the mozzarella cheese, and then I'll freeze that. So usually that's a whole day in the kitchen that I'm spending. And so that makes it so it's not so easy for me to come out here to the garden. But I have a process now where if I milk the goats out, oh, here's Johnny. I need some sunglasses. Gosh, it's so bright out here.
What's happening?
So when I'm telling them my process of, because we have so much milk, there's so
Yeah,
much milk.
but the cheese is so good.
Yes, and I just made that creamy chev. I'm trying to make yogurt with the goat's milk, but I did make some chev. I think that's how you pronounce it, chev or shrev or something like that. And so I have two of those containers. And then I've been doing more research, and I guess I'm supposed to roll it and wrap it up, and then I could store it in the freezer. And then when I take it out, thaw it, and then roll it in whatever kind of herbs, and it turns into a nice spread. So I'm thinking about, yeah, I have to do that too. So I made a bunch of that yesterday, some chev, and processed a bunch of milk, made some mozzarella, 3 little balls of mozzarella, and that pretty much takes all day. So if I don't process the milk that I got the night before, that the next day will be either cheese. So does that make sense? So last night's milk, I'll be processing it today, so for consumption. And if I don't, then tomorrow I'll make cheese, mozzarella cheese. So that's what I've been doing with my milk so that we don't get backed up. So right now I still have, I think, about 3 gallons of milk that I have to process or make something cheese. I don't have enough to make butter, which I would love to make some butter. So let's just get started with this garden vlog. That's my updates on what's been happening on the farm. My baby chicks should be coming soon. The little garden's doing so well with so many flowers. So that's why I'm thinking maybe I could, afford to cut some flowers in here and enjoy them in the house while I'm processing a bunch of food. All right, so let's just get started on this garden vlog now. The garden is looking pretty rough, you guys. It's looking pretty rough. I haven't weed eated anything. I try to come out here early in the morning. I try to get my hands in the soil and try to pull out some weeds, and take a look at everything, just put my eyes on everything, making sure everything is doing good, making sure there's no caterpillars on the tomatoes. And so far, so good. Everything is coming up, ripening really, really well. So let's get started in this first garden bed with the eggplant. All right, so over here we have some black beauties, I believe they're called. Let me double check. I did buy these ones from the nursery, and I think these are Black Beauty. And I do have some other ones in the back that are called something Little Fingers. I have used them I have made like harvest a few of them and made them into a dish, and they are so, so delicious. And I do want to show you this dish. It takes some time to make it, but it is so good. So we're going to harvest a few of these eggplants. I'm going to take some of these young ones too, just so that way It doesn't weigh it down too much. But these are looking so good. And we have so many of them. So I'm going to harvest a bunch of this eggplant. And then I'm going to show you what's happening on the other side of this trellis. So we got quite a few eggplant. Look at that. How cool is that? I love it. All right, so on the other side, we have some cherry tomatoes that I need to collect. And then there's some other tomatoes over here that it's really hard to tell when they're ripe. So I'm going to take a look at them and see if they're ripe. We might try a few of them just to double check to make sure they're sweet enough. All right, so over here we have some beautiful cherry tomatoes, and these are called Berry Crazy Cherries. And so this year I did plant a bunch of tomato seeds, and a lot of them came up. Matter of fact, all of them came up. And then what happened was I was hardening them off and I was putting them inside and outside, and the weather was so deceiving and it was so sunny. And then I forgot them outside. We got so busy. We're doing a festival and just got so busy and I forgot them. I didn't think anything was going to be wrong with them, and they ended up turning out to be stunted. So that was all my fault. And then I started a secondary succession of seeds, but then I was worried I wasn't going to get any tomatoes. So then I saw some good deals at the nursery. I bought little 6 packs of some tomatoes for $3, which I thought was a really good deal. And then I saw some bigger packs at Costco that I thought was a really good deal. And they're in 6 packs. So I bought some of those tomatoes as well. And everything seems to be doing really well. Then I thought, you know what, maybe I'll just take some of those seedlings that I started, the second succession of seedlings of tomatoes, and then just pop them here and there in the garden bed and see how they do. And so far they're doing pretty good. They're not that big. They're probably like that tall, but I hate I hate talking with my sunglasses on, but it's so bright out here. And even though I have the hat on, it's still super bright. But I hate talking with my sunglasses on. Even though I'm talking through the camera, I feel like, I don't know. I like looking at people's eyes when I'm talking to them. So some of the tomatoes, the second succession of tomatoes that I'm growing are coming up. So here are the crazy, what did I say they were? Berry Crazy Cherries, and they're so sweet. Now these, all we've been doing is eating them fresh. I haven't been preserving any of these. We just been picking them, putting them in soups, eating them in salads, things like that. So that is what we're doing with these tomatoes. Now I did not plant any red cherry tomatoes, but there are some popping up in one of the garden beds. Thank goodness, because I love having some sort of red cherry tomato. And I did not plant any sun golds, but I did plant one of the seedlings that I planted in the garden bed, was like the second succession of seedlings. Those were, I did plant one sun gold in one of the garden beds. I forgot which one though, but I think it's on the other side. So let me just go ahead and harvest all of these cherry tomatoes, and then we're going to show you all these other cherry tomatoes on this other side. And I forgot the name of those ones too. I think it's called something atomic grape, something like that. All right, so let's get started on harvesting these tomatoes. So over here we have Brad's atomic grapes, and I really like them. And so at first I had no idea how to harvest them, and now I realize that it has to be kind of this color. Do you see that? Like the reddish, brownish kind of color. So we have a few of these available. Oh shoot, took one non-ripe one. It's okay. So we're just gonna go ahead and harvest as many ripe ones. They're so pretty. The purple that's going through them is so pretty. And they're supposed to be cherry tomatoes. This is my first time ever growing this variety, and I do like them. So we're just gonna put them here in our basket. We're getting quite a good harvest of veggies. I wish I had some lettuce. I do need to make a bunch of pesto. I'm still trying to figure out what we're going to have for dinner. Last night was so nice. I made some hamburger buns with our sourdough, and we just, we had the meat. We just bought that from the market, but it was so nice because all the produce, everything was from the garden. The night before, I made a stew, and everything was from the garden. Everything, we didn't have to buy anything from the store, which is so nice. And then what else? Let's see, I've been making brownies. You know how sometimes you get those big, really ginormous zucchinis? Well, what I do is I will shred it up on the finest shredder on the, on one of those graters, and I will grate it up, squeeze out all the water, and I'll put it into brownie mix, and you can't even tell. You can't even tell if you put it in your cookie mix either. It keeps the cookies and the brownies so moist. So that is what I've been doing with my huge zucchini, because sometimes the zucchini can just get away from you. One day you look at it, it's, small, and then you forget about it, and then you come out and then it's huge. So I had to figure out, I didn't want those to go to waste. Some of them went to the chickens, but I didn't want everything to go to the chickens. So now these, I'm debating. I think I might try to make like a mixed salsa with the yellow and these purple ones, because they're so pretty. They're still red. I'm going to show you. We're going to pop inside, and I'm going to show you how they look like. This might be a long vlog, so, but I like long vlogs. It's kind of nice. I usually just keep them on. Oh, look, this one looks so funny. Looks like Rosemary's teats, because one of our goats has a lopsided teat. That's so funny. Okay, I think that's all the right ones that we have going here. But these atomic grapes are doing so well. You know what? Let me bite into one so you can see. I thought they were red, but they're not. I haven't eaten them, you guys, but I've just been popping them into my mouth. They're so good. So juicy, so sweet. Mm, that's how I eat my breakfast. All right. Sorry about that. All right. Next garden bed. Let me show you what's happening. All right. So before we move off to those other tomatoes, look at this. Isn't that so beautiful? Look at that dahlia. It's so huge, but it's flopping over like this. So I feel like maybe I should just trim it up and take it into the house. So pretty. All right, so let's go off to those other tomatoes and let me show you how they turned out. All right, so over here we have our pink Berkeleys, and I have been harvesting quite a bit of pink Berkeleys. I mean, not quite a bit, not enough to make sauce. Not enough to make sauce, which I would love to make some sort of sauces now. And you know, preserve some of that way. So I think I still have one more jar. I thought I was done with salsa, but I still have one more jar of salsa left. So I could preserve some of these tomatoes and make some salsa as well. Um, you know, as far as what type of tomatoes I use for salsa and sauce and things like that, I use everything. I use stewed tomatoes. I use all kinds of tomatoes, and it just depends on how watery you want your sauces to be. So some tomatoes, they retain a lot of moisture and a lot of water. And so there's some tomatoes that are meant for sauces that are a little thicker, and then some tomatoes that are made for just for like sandwiches. But I use everything. So because there's times where I just have so many tomatoes that I just mix a whole crock pot full of different type of tomatoes, and then I stew it all down. I put zucchini, basil, all these things in it. And before you know it, it's nice and thick. So these are my pink Berkeleys. Everything's doing really well. I need to come through here and tie them up a little bit. I noticed some of them are starting to flop over, and I do need to come through here and trim off some of the suckers as well. But as far as the tomatoes are doing, they are doing so good. Look how pretty those are. Oh, look at that. Isn't that so pretty? I did knock one down right over there. a ripe one. I thought I could fit it through the fence, but I couldn't, so I gotta go to the other side and get it. But I have a nice ripe one right there at the end, so I'm gonna go ahead and harvest that one and put that in my basket as well. How awesome is that? Look at that. Look at that beauty. How pretty. All right, so I'm gonna grab that other one right over here. Now, I have been trying to keep up on the weeds, but have been unsuccessful. And I do need to come through. So I was like weeding the garden beds the other day, and then I just kind of left the dried grass, the weeds out. I just kind of left them out and didn't rake them up. So I need to come through here. I need a weed eat. I need a rake. I need a trim. I just need to do so many things, but such little time. And it's so hot during the day. So it's like, you don't want to work out here when it's super hot. And right now, I think it's just like 9, 10 o'clock. It's going to be so hot this weekend too. It's going to be over 100 3 days in a row. So I want to get out here and I try to get, there's so many things I want to do in the early mornings when it's nice and cool. And so by the time I wake up, I process the milk, then I come out here, I try to water everything before it gets too late in the day. And then I go back in the house and I try to process all of the food that I have picked. But then next thing you know, it's time for dinner. So, that's how it goes. Yeah. And then I still go out to the job sites to check on everything to make sure everything's looking good, because I still have a job to do. So, yeah, trying to do a garden and homestead and things like that, and still work. It's hard. But at least I have this little slice of heaven to enjoy every single day. So, and thank goodness my daughter is going to work, so that's a plus. But then she's going to be starting school soon, so hopefully she still wants to do the job even after she starts school. All right, so now let's go on to the other side. I'm going to get sidetracked and let's go take a look at the peppers. Now I have harvested a bunch of peppers, and my goal is to attempt to make this cowboy candy. I think that's what it is. I think it's jam. I think you could put it over cheese and things like that. And because I have so much cheese, I think that would be such a great thing to put over the cheese. So I'm going to take you over to look at these peppers. Now over here I have a ton of peppers. We have some bell peppers. I usually add these into my spaghetti sauce, and I do need to cut down all these weeds in the front. I just need to pull them all out. So I have this beautiful pepper right here. Now these peppers will turn color. Some of them have been getting sunburnt from the sun, but I did harvest a bunch of these red peppers right here. Now, I don't know if they're spicy or not. Usually my nephew will come out and he'll test them out for me, but unfortunately he is unable to come out so to visit this year to test out these peppers. So we're gonna have to try them out without them, but they're looking so good. And I'm not gonna let these peppers go to waste, because last year I feel like I let a lot of peppers go to waste, not intentionally, just because I didn't know what to do with them, and they come in such an abundance, and my goal was to make some cowboy candy, but I just never got to it. So this year I'm not going to let that happen, and I'm going to preserve all of these peppers because I really want to, learn how to preserve the things that we grow and eat from the stuff that we grow, because it is so satisfying when I make a dish and everything comes from the garden. Everything came from the farm. Like the other day we had some lamb, and it was so nice to be able to have everything from the farm, all the herbs, the meat, the veggies, everything. It was amazing, and it just so fresh and it tastes so good. So that's my goal, is to try to make everything from the farm. And it is getting hot, so we're going to get through this garden vlog. So now here is a garden bed. You can't even tell because it blends in with everything that I definitely need to amend. There's a couple garden beds. This one right here, that one over there. You can see that dead patch. And then I have a small little square one in the front that I still need to amend to get ready for my fall garden. So right here we have some Jerusalem artichokes. These Jerusalem artichokes, they're not like artichokes. They're called sunchokes. And I started off with a tiny little row, and it has gotten so out of control. It literally is taking up this garden bed. It's growing outside of the garden bed. I did not really know how invasive these sunchokes were until I grew them. And then we decided we're going to try to remove all of them. And we took an excavator in here. My husband decided to dig them all out. And yeah, this is what happened. Just got so out of control. But I do preserve them. I ferment them, and they are so good. We eat them all the time. Matter of fact, I'm like craving them now thinking about it. So they're so delicious. So this is our patch of sunchokes, and they have a little yellow flower. And how do you know when to harvest? Is when everything dies out, all the stalk, everything just becomes brown and dead, and that is when you harvest the sunchokes. Now over here we have our beautiful um, lemongrass. And this year I did not trim it up at all. I was going to get to it and I never did. And then I thought John was going to get to it and then he wasn't able to do it. So it never got a trim. Now this coming winter, I am going to trim it down and get all of this dead foliage off. But the blades are so sharp. They're like knives. And I'm not sure if I should trim it in the heat, but just like everything else, I don't think anything likes to be trimmed in the heat. So that's why I'm going to wait until the cooler weather to do any type of trimming, at least the majority of my trimming. Now, some of the stuff that needs to be manicured, you can manicure it and things like that. But I do like to do it earlier in the morning or later in the evening when it's a little bit cooler, so that way the plant doesn't go so much into shock, just by cutting it all up and stuff like that. So that's what our plan is with the lemongrass. So now let's go off to look at the beans. But first, you guys, okay, so here's the raspberry. Or no, not raspberry, blackberry bush. So here's my little blackberry bush. It did send up a runner right there on the side. You see that little guy right there? And I'm okay with that. I feel like maybe it's going to take up this whole area right here. This is a thornless blackberry bush. So I'm excited. I cannot wait to see how it's going to look. I haven't had enough to jam or anything like that. I just come out here and I see them, I eat them. Okay, so over here we have some pumpkins, you guys. Look how big. Now, do you remember I came through here a while back and I planted a bunch of pumpkin seeds all along the edge of the garden? Well, these are the ones that are doing the best. Some of them are popping up, some of them, not too good. But so far we have two promising pumpkins. So now over here in this garden bed, I do need to amend this garden bed right here. Another garden bed I need to amend. But all the plants around the edge are starting to, like that one's flowering, but all the little bulbs are all starting to die out. My goal is to have the whole inside of the garden just be like beautiful perennials and annuals just popping up here and there. But you guys, look at this trellis. It is almost, this is the farthest anything has ever grown on this trellis. Let me give you a good look at how good this looks. So over here we have some pole beans, and I just bought a huge bag of pole beans, like a value pack. And look how good that's doing, you guys. Now, I did plant some on this other side of the trellis, right on this side, but birds ate all the seeds. But I'm hoping that it's going to reach. Oh, it's going to be so exciting. I know next year or maybe this winter, I'll put some peas and I'll plant peas right on this side and on both sides. And maybe that'll reach in the center and be super nice and full. I feel like I have been waiting so many seasons for this trellis to get this far up. I'm so excited. It just looks so whimsical and it just looks so pretty. And so over here we have a bunch of pole beans, and they're looking so good. Now, I did have some pest damage on these beans. And so what I ended up doing was I did spray some neem oil the on these beans to prevent these little black bugs from eating all of the flowers, because what was happening was it was growing, but I wasn't getting any beans. And now, ever since I put that neem oil, I've been getting beans. Now, at first I was thinking I wasn't going to spray anything on the garden and stuff like that, but I have worked so hard to get this garden prepared and get it ready for planting, to harvest food off of it, that as long as I feel like I'm not using something super toxic, I'm using neem oil or diatomaceous earth, things like that, so I don't kill the honeybees, then I feel that that's okay. That's my feeling. I mean, I wish I could go all organic, but you guys, it is tough to go all organic. And I have been following um, a YouTuber, Laura from Garden Answers, and she uses neem oil, and she has a beautiful garden. Oh my goodness, her garden at her house is so pristine and so beautiful. Granted, she does have help, which I hope to one day to get to that point. Um, but I love her garden. I love how she could just walk out of her house and have these beautiful containers. And I know it's a lot of work to get to your house, to get your house to look that pristine, and to keep it up, and to keep working on it. And so, that is her full-time job, is to, do that. And she goes over to her parents' garden center. But, you know, so sidetracked off of that. I don't even know where I was getting with that. Oh, she uses BT. She uses neem oil. She uses what is it, Captain Jack. I have used Captain Jack, but I use that more for my containers and things like that. I haven't tried it on the garden yet. But, when I first started getting into gardening, I had no idea about pesticides, fertilizer, um, amendments. I had no clue what any of that meant. And now that I have been in the gardening business now and in the landscaping business, I do know, and I do use some of those products. Now, John, for the commercial part, he uses something completely different. But for my containers and things like that at home, I try to do all natural. So I do use some Captain Jack on some of my petunias. But right now, everything's doing really, really good. We have so many birds that I feel the birds do a lot of the job for us, and we have a lot of frogs too. And so I feel like a lot of those insects and a lot of those bugs do help us out quite a bit in the garden. But for the beans, there was this just, I kept seeing these little black bugs, and they would lay eggs behind the leaves. And so I would come out here, I would take all those leaves off, I would throw them away, and then I would still see these little black bugs. So I bit the bullet, and then I sprayed some neem oil. And now, ever since I did that, it feels like, I feel like it's thanking me for doing that, because I can't imagine how it must feel to have all these little things crawling all over, itself. It's like hair lice for plants. Okay, so over here in this garden bed, we have some potatoes, and I have been harvesting the potatoes, and it is so fun to harvest potatoes, you guys. So how I know when to harvest the potatoes is when it dies out. When it dies out, that's when you can harvest it. And it's so much fun because you don't know what you're going to get, and it's so exciting to pull out potatoes from here. And some of the potatoes I bought from the store, from the nursery. Some of the potatoes were like from underneath the sink. I just popped them in here. Um, when they had the little roots. And so it's just a variety of potatoes growing in this garden bed. So I'm so excited to see what we're going to get. And this year, I feel, is going to be the year that Thanksgiving dinner is going to be all farm to fork. That is my goal, you guys. I have yet been able to accomplish that goal. But one of my goals is to have Thanksgiving dinner and Christmas dinner all farm to fork. I mean, one of these days, I'm going to grow my own turkey. I mean, raise my own turkey, I'm hoping. We have plenty of chickens, but, my chickens are like my pets that I get eggs from. And we are getting so many eggs right now. So I have been trying to figure out how to preserve the eggs. So I've been using them for omelets, and a lot of these vegetables I'll use and I'll chop up, I'll dice up, make them small into pieces, and I'll make a scrambled omelet. So good, you guys. And then, you could freeze that, make it in the morning time, thaw it out, whatever, scramble it back up. I have some mosquito bites from last night. I need to get that salve. I did make some of that salve, you guys, and I did not show you, and I did not record it. I just made it last night. I had a mosquito bite. I gave my other drawing salve to my cousin for her babies, because her little kids were over here. My niece, I call them my niece and nephew, but they're my little cousins. But I'm like an auntie to them. So they were over here and they were getting bit up by mosquitoes, and I put that drying salve on them, and it worked so well. So I had to give it to her, and that encouraged me to make some. So I did make some last night because I had this mosquito bite that was driving me nuts, and I thought I had some in my pocket. But yeah, so I did make some, and it turned out pretty good. So I definitely need to, show you how I make that, because I want to make a bunch of gifts, like things like that for gifts for the holidays, because it works so well. All right, so these are the potatoes. Potatoes are doing fantastic. Beans are doing fantastic. We have a table full of annuals right here that I need to go through and manicure and take care of. And the thing is that when we bring back plants from a job site, I have to really be careful about putting them here in the garden, because they bring back pests with them. And so I usually have to try to spray them or take care of them at the job sites first before I haul them in here into the big garden, because that's probably one of the things that's the biggest downfall is bringing plants from outside that have not been on the farm for a long while, and been somewhere else. And when I pick those up, yeah, I try to treat them there. All right, so over here in this garden bed, let me show you, we have some cucumbers. I have harvested a couple cucumbers from here. Now, I have harvested a couple cucumbers today, this morning, but I have been harvesting cucumbers like crazy, and I have not made any pickles. So today is the day that I'm going to be making some sweet pickles. I still am trying to critique my recipe. I had a recipe, a great recipe. I think I might have found it online. So I did have a really great recipe, and then I lost it. I didn't write it down. I don't know what. I did write it down, but I don't know where I placed it. And so I've been trying to find it. I found it online, but I just didn't save the page or anything. So I've been looking for it, and I think I might have found it, because there's just a certain amount of sugar and vinegar and things like that. And I have been practicing. I've tried a few, and none of them have turned out good. Some of them are just too sweet. Some of them are not sweet enough. Um, and some of them have too much vinegar. Some of them have too much apple vinegar. Oh, this is a funny looking, yeah, it's a funny looking cucumber. These are going to go to the chickens. Oh my goodness. These ones look a little funky. Look at these little bowling balls. All right, so I only had a couple of cucumbers on here, and I do have a bucket out here of water, cold water, that I put the cucumbers in, because I've learned that when you um, put the cucumbers in a bucket of cold water and you store them in your refrigerator, right before you store them in your refrigerator, you want to dry them off, put them in a bag or whatever, and then store them that way, they will last longer and be crispy. Because before, in the beginning, I would just pick the cucumber, throw it right into the fridge, wonder why it's so flimsy and wobbly, like like bendable. And it was because it was so hot outside when I was picking them. Throwing them into the refrigerator made them just not, it didn't make them crispy, made them soggy. And so yeah, so I've learned to put them in nice cold water, chill them, take the warmth off of them, and then put them into the refrigerator, dry them off, and put them in the fridge. So over here in the middle, I did start some bush beans, and they're looking pretty fantastic. I feel like I need to fertilize. I haven't fertilized very much this year. Fertilizer is quite expensive, you guys. I've been using a granule fertilizer, but I do need to come through and use some Fox Farm. I use fish emulsion, and I use a Fox Farm Big Grow. That's what I use for my garden to fertilize the garden. Now, out in the commercial pots and things like that, I don't use those types of fertilizer. I use more of a commercial fertilizer, something that promotes good foliage, but not a lot of root growth. I don't want a lot of root growth for my containers. So, because it makes it harder to take out. All right, so now moving off to these tomatoes, and I can see some ripe tomatoes already. I think we're going to get a good amount of tomatoes on this harvest. So let me go and find my bucket, put these cucumbers in my bucket, and then let's harvest some tomatoes. Um, Okay, so on this side of the trellis, on the other side of the cucumbers and bush beans, we have some early girls plus. So I have harvested a few tomatoes from here, and we've just been eating them fresh, and they're so delicious. You guys are so red. These ones, I know they don't look red on the outside, but they're pretty delicious. So I'm thinking I'm just going to go ahead and harvest these, because before you know it, they're going to be ready to go. So there's a few of them on here. I'm gonna let that one go. I'm gonna let this one go a little bit longer. So these are I think I have 3 early girls plus, and then on the other side I have some Ace 55s. Now this is the first time of me ever growing these varieties. These are the varieties that I believe I bought in a 6-pack, and so I bought like 2 6-packs, and yeah, they're doing pretty good. I'm excited. So far so good. I haven't had enough to make any stews, like I said, but enough to eat fresh, which is really nice. And now with me making mozzarella cheese and bread, I can make myself my own like grilled cheese sandwich with tomatoes, you guys. How awesome is that? I never really cared for tomatoes on my grilled cheese until I actually tried it, and I really like it, especially fresh tomatoes. It tastes so delicious with fresh tomatoes. I've tried some with the store-bought tomatoes and it's just not the same. It's not, the flavor is just not there, but fresh, homegrown or farmer's market type, delicious. So that's what we have going over here is early birds. We don't have anything from the Ace 55 yet. We do have some tomatoes, but they're not ripened up yet. So now let's go off to look at the squash. And I have harvested a couple squash already, or zucchini, and some of them are kind of big. And what I do with these big ones is I grate them down, like I said, and I pop them into some brownie mix or cookie mix or whatever kind of mix you want, and it makes the cookies and the brownies so moist, so delicious. No one can tell that it has zucchini in it because it just kind of disintegrates into the batter, and it's just so good. So I'm going to try this with some carrot cake. I bet you that would taste so delicious and make it so moist, because I do have quite a few carrots left that I could use in some carrot cake. That sounds delicious. All right, so I know I have one more zucchini in here that's getting kind of big, so I'm going to harvest that too. Now these zucchinis look kind of spent now. I feel like I need to go ahead and take these out and maybe succession sow another thing or another bed of zucchini, which I think I just might do in the bed where we have some more cucumber. So let me share with you what is growing on the other side of these zucchini. We have some more tomatoes, and I believe these are, ooh, I forgot the name of these guys. So let's go over there and take a look. So over here on this side, we have some Big Beef Plus, and they're doing so good. I haven't really been harvesting any. I think this is my first one. So that is so exciting. We have another one right here, but I'm going to let it go a little bit longer. But yeah, we got our one tomato here. And then let's go on to the other side and see how many cucumbers we have. So I do see a couple of cucumbers that I could take off. These ones kind of got a little bit too big right here. I'll still eat them. So I mean, I love cucumbers. It's full of water. So it's very important to keep hydrated if you're out in the heat. So those are full of water. I'm going to take this big one right here, looking really good. I just take the blossom off. This will it'll stop it from growing, or I believe if you continue to leave that on there, it'll rot, make it rot. So I just take off the blossoms. And then let's see, I thought I saw one more. Maybe that was it. That's not big enough. Yep, I think that's pretty much it for the cucumbers. So I did harvest a couple of them this morning, and I harvested quite a bit of them yesterday. So we definitely need to get on the cucumber wagon and start making some cucumber or some pickles for sure, because I don't want that. I just had to give a whole bag of them that went to waste because I completely forgot about them, and they were tucked way back into the outside refrigerator, where I keep the milk. And I just kind of forgot about them, and they just got all mushy, and so I ended up having to give them to the chickens, which really bummed me out because I didn't make any pickles with them, and I hate when things go to waste like that. I mean, granted, it didn't go to waste, but it, didn't go in my belly. So for me, that kind of went to waste, even though it went to the chickens, which the chicken eggs are going to go into my belly. So, All right, so that is how these are doing. Now, this is the garden bed where I'm thinking about starting some squash. That is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I need some more amendments. I need some mushroom compost. That's what I use in my garden beds. And, top off the garden bed. And then I think this is where I'm going to plant some more zucchini for, just to have some extra, because even though I have those plants, I didn't really get that many. So yeah, this is what I'm probably going to do with this garden bed. So now let's go off to the other garden bed where we have a ton of basil growing. So over here we have a ton of basil. Not only do we have basil in this garden bed, we have basil in another garden bed. So my goal with the basil is to make a bunch of pesto. Last year I made some pesto and it didn't even last us through the winter time. So my goal is this year is to make so much pesto that we have a ton of it, and it's already going to seed because it's been so hot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it down pretty close, like pretty low. And then I definitely need to have to wash it and, you know, go through it because I could tell that I'm going to get some of this grass in there, some of these weeds in there. But we have so much basil here that homemade pesto is just so easy to make and so delicious. And look how much basil that there is. This is a lot of pesto right here. So we're going to go through. I'm going to hack all this basil down. Oh, I forgot these little cucumber plants in here. Oh my goodness. Oh shoot, I just broke it. Darn it. Look at this little cucumber right here. Totally forgot about this. But I think I just broke it. Bummer. Okay, well, I'm just going to set it right in there and see what happens. All right, so let's just go through. I'm going to cut all this basil down, and then we're going to make some pesto. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to, this is going to be quite a long video, and I got so many other chores to take care of today. So I might have to do another video on making pesto. I might record it today and then pop it up on a different, you know, in a different vlog. But let's go ahead and go through, harvest all this pesto or this basil. And yeah, it smells so good, you guys. Now you could use this for tea as well. Did you know that? I had no idea. And then I watched a vlogger on Roots and Refuge, and you know, because I was getting used to figuring out how to preserve stuff, and so I have to go through and find other people that have done this before me. And so she used some of the basil for tea. Basil tea. Doesn't that sound delicious? I did try it, and it is good. Anything with honey or sugar or anything like that tastes delicious. But pesto is the way to go because pesto is so expensive. All right, so let's get started. I know I got started already, but let's just pop in some music. Let me get all of this basil harvested before, because it's already so hot, you guys, and it's only 10 o'clock. I just checked the time, got some water, and it's 10 o'clock. So let's just bust through this. All right, so over here on this side, I just finished up trimming up the rest of the basil. Really chopped it all down, but it's going to come back. All of the basil is going to come back. And what I do is I just cut it. If you see one big long stalk in the middle and then two little leaves, I just cut it right there. So I cut it as low as I can without making it look super ugly. All right, so over here on this side, we have another variety of tomatoes called pineapple pig. Now, I've seen blossoms, but I have not received a tomato from this. I see one popping up right at the very end, and the bottom it looks a little bit yellow, and I'm wondering if it's ready. I think it might be, you guys. This is the only one. Yep, I think it is. It's called pineapple pig, and so what I'm assuming is the reason why is because the bottom is kind of like yellow, like the inside of a pineapple. How cool is that? Our first one. So I know I have some of these little red cherry tomatoes. They're so delicious. My only red cherry tomatoes. Oh, so sweet. Here in the garden. So they're doing good. Sorry, shouldn't talk with my mouth full, but you know, it's hard to resist those ripe tomatoes. All right, so that's what's happening over here. Some of these pineapple pig, my only pineapple pig. And then right here on this corner, I did plant a little seedling. See that? In between the weeds. And I believe this one is either the gold, sun gold, or red pearl, one or the other. I don't know. But that's what I have. That's my second succession of tomatoes. It's growing right there. All right, so now over here on this garden bed, right here, I did plant some pumpkins or some sort of cantaloupe. Nothing came up. I think a bunch of birds came in here and might have eaten them. So now on this side of the trellis, though, we have these beautiful purple tomatoes. And I feel like they're almost ready to be harvested. I've been looking, I've never planted this variety before, and I've been doing some research. Let me fix this up. There you go. And it says that when the bottom starts to blush a little bit, that's when it's ready to be harvested. So nothing is starting to blush, not quite yet, but I cannot wait to see what they look like. This one is called Black Beauty. Aren't those so pretty? Let me give you a really close look as to how beautiful the color of these tomatoes are. Look at that. Aren't those so unique and pretty? So beautiful. Look at this one. And the bottoms are kind of greenish. Like this one might be almost ready. It says when it starts to blush. I'm not too sure, you guys, but they look so pretty hanging here. All these bright purple, dark purple tomatoes. And then over here, we have some beautiful dahlias. Look how pretty those are. So I'm hoping that all these perennials will eventually be super beautiful. Look at this wheelbarrow. Planted this one up. Let me show you some of the containers in the garden. This container right here has to be one of my favorites. Look how pretty that is. Has some sweet potato vine in there. I have, I believe that's a some credible something. I forgot what the name of it is, and I lost the tag, but it's so pretty. And then we have some dahlias in there. We have some licorice. We have, I think that's a, I forgot what that one's called. Angelonia, I think, I don't know, Nemesia, something like that. But yeah, that container turned out really good. And then these three beautiful containers, look at that. Super full. This is where I harvest all of my lavender to make our sweet, when we were making our sweet syrup, like our, what is it called? Our simple syrup. I harvested a bunch of lavender from these garden beds. Each garden bed has lavender. I harvested some basil from those two garden beds over there. I still need to harvest some more. And what else did I harvest? Mint from those two garden beds right there. So full. Look at that, you guys. Isn't that just so stinking beautiful? Now this one right here, it has a tomato popping up, and I did not have the heart to pull it out, so I let it go. But we have some strawberry plants in there. We have some marigolds, some petunias, some Thai basil, some lavender. This one had a lavender in the very front. No, it's in the very back over there. This one has some lavender right here. Some of it has gone to seed. I just let it go. I might pop it out when it gets bigger and put it somewhere along the edge of the garden somewhere. But look at those dahlias. Oh, those are so beautiful. Another one over there. So this is how the garden's looking. It looks like a hot mess, but beautiful all at the same time. You know what I mean? So pretty. Let me show you our harvest for today. So this is all the basil that I harvested. It's going to be making tons of pesto. And then this is all of the tomatoes and peppers, tomatoes, eggplant, all those things right in here. And then these are the cucumbers that we harvested, and then the zucchini right in there. And it's already getting super warm out. Oh my goodness. And then I want to show you the little garden. Let's go take a peek at the little garden really fast. And then, oh my goodness, another thing too. My daughter, when she was out at the job site, a baby kitten. We have a new baby kitten, you guys. Oh my goodness. And she is so, it's a girl. She's so cute. She's living in the patio room right now. She's a little bit wild. So she hasn't been able to come into the house quite yet because she's very feral. So, and plus we have two cats inside right now, and you know, this one was just roaming around, so we did take it to the vet. It looks pretty good, doesn't have any fleas. She gave it a bath, looks healthy. The vet said it's about 7 weeks old, super tiny. And so right now it is living in the patio room of our house until, you know, we can kind of get it to come to us because right now it just runs and hides. And so, yeah, super cute. And, you know, who can pass up a baby kitten, right? I try not to like it. Like I'm trying not to be like super friendly with it because we cannot have another cat in the house. So we're gonna try to train it to be in the barn because we do have some barn cats as well. Um, and we have Tigger, one of our barn cats, who's super sweet that lives in the barn. And then a new little black cat that came to live in the barn, which I love barn cats. Don't get me wrong. I love barn cats. I love cats. I think they're super useful on the farm. They take care of all the pests and rodents. And so we're just going to train her, bring her out here to the garden and stuff like that, but not until she gets used to us. So let me go and show you this little garden, and then we're going to go take a look at the little kitty to see how cute she is. Come on. I don't see any chickens. They're probably all inside. It's super cool inside. I see one over there dusting outside. And then there's a couple of them in here that are dusting. I do eventually want to make that into a little garden bed for the chickens so I'm going to plant some greens in there and they could just go at it. I think I need to put a little piece of metal, like chicken wire on the top of it so they don't get into it. But when it's hot, I put a mister out, which I'm going to have to do that this weekend. That I'll put like so good, this weekend's gonna be super hot 3 days in a row. So I'll put a sprinkler inside there. I'll put a fan in their chicken coop to blow and circulate the air so that way they don't get super hot. But over here is the little garden looking so fantastic. All right, you guys. So I don't know if you remember on the other side there, I had a bunch of plants growing. I didn't know what they were. I thought they were cosmos. That's what I thought they were. This whole time, I was watering them, I was fertilizing them, I was using the good fertilizer on them, and they were weeds the whole time. They were the best looking weeds you have ever seen. They were so big in abundance. I'm gonna see, I think I might have taken a video, but you guys, they were weeds. And how I found out was John was at a job site and he was like, Jade, he goes, you know those white flowers that are in your garden? And I said, yeah. He goes, those are weeds. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah, I see them like everywhere. I was driving on the freeway and I saw them on the freeway and they're just growing wild on the gutters and things like that. And then sure enough, I went with him on a drive and they're weeds. They're literally growing in the gutters. And here I am fertilizing them, babying them, taking care of them, using the good stuff on them, all weeds. But they had this beautiful white flower, but it's so invasive. They're just growing like a weed. But let me show you how the little garden's doing. So now this side of the garden bed is looking very beautiful. These are all self-seeded. I did plant these seeds. Look at these zinnias. Look at these, you guys. Aren't those so cool? Look at those colors. Look at this one. This one's kind of dying out, but it had a yellow center and the outside was beautiful pink, light pink. Gosh, how pretty is that? I don't want to pick these two. I'm going to let these ones go to flower and go to seed and let them seed the garden. But we have a bunch of calendula, which I made some calendula oil, and I think it's supposed to a calendula salve. No, an oil, and then you could turn it into a salve. So I have a bunch of that in the house. I have some more zinnias right over there, all self-seeding itself. The alyssum self-seeded itself. These are some things that I had from a job site that I need to, I don't know, find somewhere to put them. We have some Kermit eggplant right over there. This one right over here. These little green guys. This I use in a Thai green curry that's delicious. I planted these from seed and then they were in a garden bed and then I just moved them right over here and that's all I use this one for is for a Thai green curry, these eggplants. I have some oregano planted right over there. Then I was starting to cut it. I was cutting it back. It looks really crazy right now. And then as I was cutting it back, there was a humongous spider in there with a big spider's nest, like an egg sac. And so I stopped cutting it and that's where I left it. But I do need to come back through and clean it up, and we do a little weeding in here. But this is where all the weeds were, right in here, big patch of it. The good thing about it is it did suppress the other weeds, so nothing was able to grow. Now over here, I planted this and I forgot what the name of it. I did start it from seed and I just popped it in there. And look at these sunflowers, you guys. Aren't those so pretty? Look at that. So gorgeous. So I feel like I could, like this one's already dying out. I feel like I could, just harvest a few flowers for the house. Look at that. We have this pumpkin is growing really well. All the other ones are not really growing that well. The soil is not that great in this garden. I really do need to come through, add some really good amendments, really just kind of do a good job amending the soil. But for the most part, this part's looking really nice. So pretty. I'm going to plant some more seeds in this area right in here. So that is how the little garden is looking. Look at this sunflower. Look, so pretty, you guys. Look at that. Isn't it just looking so gorgeous? Beautiful. So that is how the garden is doing. That is how the little garden's doing. Everything is doing so well, so fantastic, growing fantastic. And I think that's pretty much it. Let me go and show you rosemary and strawberry. They're doing so good. These girls, I love them. They're doing so fantastic. All right, let's see. Hey, girls. They usually come into this stall right over here. There they are. There's rosemary right there. And then strawberries coming in. This is their little milking stand, which I do need to make another one. And now they just go onto the milking stand no matter what. Hi, Strawberry. How are you doing, big girl? How are you doing, big girl? This is the part that they like to hang out with because it has like a cool breeze that comes in through here. Huh, girl? She's so sweet. Still just so sweet. Right, girl? Aren't you? She has gained some weight, right? You've gained some weight, huh, girl? We had to put you on a diet. I had to cut back on her feed because what she was doing was since she's so much bigger than Rosemary, she finishes up her food super fast. And then she goes over and bullies Rosemary and then eats her food too. So, yeah. So, and then I try to separate them and put one in one stall and the other in the other stall. And then they start crying like that. And then they don't eat their food until they're together. So, you know, so that is what is happening on the farm is things are growing and animals are doing fantastic. We have a ton of milk. I'm going to have to go and do another video and show you what I do with the eggplant and the basil. I'm going to do two different videos because if I put it all together with this video, it's going to be a super long video. And I just want to get this video out there. And you know what? This year, you guys, we did not get any lambs. This is the first year in, oh my gosh, I don't even know how many years now we've been raising lamb. But this is the first year in a long while that we did not get any lamb. We were going to get some lambs from our neighbor, but we wanted the lambs to be castrated, and the lambs weren't castrated. So we never dealt with lambs that for consumption that have not been castrated. So I just don't want to try it just in case something, I've heard so many stories that it could harm the meat or the meat's like not good. I don't even know, but I've never done it before and I don't want to try it. And I'm just, I'm accustomed to the way I do things. And last past couple times we've been getting the lambs with tails and we've never done that before either. So, but yeah, I don't want any male lambs on here that have not been castrated. So we're still looking. We might go off to an auction, see if we could find some lambs that we could raise for a little while and then have some to put in the freezer. We do still have some lamb from last year, but it's not going to make us through the season. And we usually have lamb in the freezer every year, and it usually lasts it up all the way up until it's time to harvest the batch of lambs. So we definitely need to get on that because it's coming up soon. August. Usually we will process the lamb sometime in November, somewhere around there. So yeah, we definitely need to figure that out, or we might not have lambs this year. So who knows? But at least we'll have plenty of cheese and milk. All right, so that's what we have going on the farm. Just a bunch of farm chores, harvesting a bunch of things. I need to clean up a bunch of stuff. I need to still get a bunch of eggs, but I don't collect my eggs until later at night when I let them out to, free range. Other than that, that's what we have going. So let me go grab my loot from the garden, drag it back to the house. I have it all on the wagon and take it back to the house so I can process all of it so none of it goes to waste. And then hopefully I can get a lot of it processed today. If I do, I'm going to pop it up onto this little video at the end of it and show you everything that I processed and preserved for today. So thank you so much for watching. Take care. I think all the dogs, I was going to show you all the dogs, but all the dogs are sleeping except for Val, my sidekick. This little girl, she's so stinking cute. I'll show you. Come here, Val. Look at her. She was so tiny when we got her, and she's definitely king of the castle as far as all the dogs go. But yeah, she's so sweet. But she does not like car rides. She gets really sick in car rides. All right, so that's what we have going. A bunch of produce, a bunch of things growing in the garden. Hopefully you guys enjoy this video. And like I said, I'm gonna post I'm gonna put all the stuff that I did with all these vegetables. And I'll see you in the next video. And yeah, take care, be safe, stay cool out there. I know everyone, oh my gosh, the heat wave. People are having heat waves. People that are near in Arizona that are near the all those fires, please be safe. Stay inside if you can. We had that issue at one point out here. Hopefully we don't have that issue again where the air is just filled with smoke because it's so bad for your lungs. It just makes you feel so down. So drink lots of water if you're out there in the heat. Take care of yourself, be safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.